Got it.
Okay, we should be on. Okay, the stream is clear. We have the good word. Welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence celebration of World Unity Week. I'm Noelle Marshall, and I am the co-founder of the Co-Creators Convergence. And right now you are inside, we're a little Co-Creators Global Village inside of worldunityweek.org. So 4 organizations went together and we said, we're going to bring the best of the best. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my dear friend, Kathy Mason, who is going to introduce our wonderful guest, Jennifer, and we'll watch our movie. The runtime is 1 hour, 37 minutes, and we'll have after talk with Jennifer, she's the star and the filmmaker, and it's a documentary, Trauma and Recovery. So welcome, everyone.
Well, welcome. Oh, hi, Annie.
Hey, Annie, I'm going to ask you to turn off your video, please. There we go. All right, not sure what happened there, but Annie, let's see.
Remove spotlight.
Okay, did you remove spotlight?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Not sure exactly what happened there, but with spotlight, Kathy, I'm going to spotlight Jennifer. So here we go. Kathy, over to you.
Well, welcome everyone. I am so excited to introduce you to my dear friend, Jennifer Kauffman. And I want you to know, not only are you getting a huge gift from this generous person to see this movie, which is not usually viewed for free, you are also getting to meet somebody who is a up and coming leader, world leader, I think, because she has what it takes to make things happen. Plus, she is an inspirational teacher, a speaker, a best-selling author. This woman is amazing. And what I think you'll see is we're all going through this transformational time. And if we model Jennifer, which you'll see in this movie, we will have a much happier world. So Jennifer, thank you for saying you do this. Thank you. Again, I've actually gotten to see this before.
You are so welcome, and thank you and Noelle and Bob and Ben and everyone in World Unity Week for allowing me to come and be with all of you and to share the message of hope, right? I think this is what, we live in a time now where it's so important to support, uplift one another and to remind one another that, we're here to love on each other. And that's what this is all about. And so I'm excited to share my story and how I went from barely surviving to thriving and how I came to produce this film. And I now can understand why I went through what I went through, because I can help so many people in these times, to rise up and to live their best life.
Well, we are so lucky to have you here. And I guess I just can't give enough accolades to you. I just think you're just an amazing being. And we need more people like you to stand up and show us the way. So thank you so much. Your name of your company, Rise and Thrive, you are a perfect example of that. So, and I just am amazed by you. So
yeah, I want to say one quick thing, because, you and I met in November and we instantly hit it off. And I think that's the beauty of the times that we're living in now, is that, we have found new ways to connect with people in different parts of the world. And, I just absolutely adore you and love you. And you've been such a great support to me and helping get the film out in the world. So I can't say thank you enough.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, I think we're all being asked to see the golden nuggets.
All right, let's go.
Happening. So, okay. Thank you.
All right, we'll get started.
Okay.
Let's see.
There you go. Thank you.
You are welcome. Give me 1 second, just refreshing. Have you ever thought to yourself, there's got to be more to life? My name is Jennifer Kauffman, and this is my story. I woke up feeling so unsettled, and I didn't understand why. And yet I wanted to honor my commitment to my dear friend. I'd never been to the Boston Marathon before, never had a desire to go. As an athlete, I was in awe when I saw the disabled runners and veterans passing by. In fact, I was moved to tears. The day started out great. Everyone was so happy. The crowds were electrifying. Then, out of nowhere, there was an eerie gust of wind, bone-chilling. And then, I was rushed into the ER. Doctors and nurses swarmed my bedside. I heard a soft voice in my head that said, "You must learn how to heal naturally." I have no medical background, yet there was something about that soft voice that was compelling. Then I thought to myself, if this were my last day, would I want to spend it in the hospital? Absolutely not. What if you were to trust your own instincts? That day when I laid in the hospital bed and I heard that inner voice say, you needed to learn how to heal naturally, that was something I did not know how to do at the time. And yet there was something about that voice that was so compelling, and it was nudging me forward. Now you have to understand that the doctors and nurses urged me to stay. They wanted to admit me for more tests and to pinpoint exactly what was going on in my body. And yet I instinctively knew that I needed to leave and find a different path. Taking that very first step was the doorway that opened up, and people showed up in my life to help me learn how to heal naturally. These were people I didn't know, many of whom that you'll see in the film. It started out with chiropractic care. When I left the hospital, I could barely walk for 5 months. So I saw a chiropractor multiple times a week to help me regain my strength and help me regain my ability to walk. I had such internal injuries that I couldn't eat whole foods. So I saw a nutritionist who taught me how I could nourish my body through whole food-based supplements and just liquids alone. I embarked on working with a Chinese herbalist and acupuncturist who helped me manage my pain so I didn't have to take pain medication. I ended up doing brain integration treatment to help me to rewire my brain and my body so that it could release the trauma that I had experienced. I also did biofield tuning, amongst so many other things that you will see in this film and in the next film. I want you to know that my journey and my path is just that. It's my journey and my path. There are things in this film that are likely to inspire you, and I encourage you to seek what feels right to you. Trust your own instincts. This is not a prescription of how to heal naturally. This just happens to be my journey and how I healed naturally. So I want you as the viewer to know that as you watch this movie, just notice how it makes you feel. Notice what things really resonate for you or something that you want to really learn more about, and then trust your instincts and go seek that information and see what is going to unfold for you.
Now I can let go. I am free.
I was desperate to get relief from sleepless nights, from anxiety and panic and pain. I mean, I had enormous pain in my body. And I also was just struggling to make sense of it all and understand it and put it in a way in which I could move forward in peace.
And was scared of being touched in the beginning because everything hurt. She had swelling everywhere. She had a lot of interference, a lot of stress and trauma to her body, to her nervous system. We had to start off very slowly. Chiropractic care is about healing the body from within. With my particular technique, I use a Pro Adjuster. It uses an instrument that scans the spine and finds the subluxation, really gently percusses and taps the spine back into proper alignment so that your body can heal itself. She was doing everything for her body that she could possibly do. She was seeing so many alternative healthcare practitioners, and it was a team. It was a team effort. I don't think she could have done it with any one of us. I think it was everyone working together, and most importantly, Jen working on herself and trying to take care of herself and get herself healthy. She was able to find, through this terrible thing that happened to her, she was able to find health and healing in a holistic and natural way from so many different people, and she learned so many different things along the way that helped her get healthy. She was the one who got herself healthy. We just kind of gave her little nudges along the way.
What I really feel in this spot is just the rush of the trauma through your whole system. Or I'm about to hit the bombing. Right in here is where we're, that's it. Yep. Yeah, so what I really feel in this spot is just the shatteredness. It feels like holes were blown into you. You feel like Swiss cheese.
All of those memories of people screaming and the visions of it all just come flooding right back as if I'm there now.
So I'm just gonna hang out in here. Let your body start to repair itself. I feel like your body is holding not just your own experience of that, but everyone around you too. Which means that as you heal it, then you help heal more than just your own story too.
I have felt like a burden, like a weight, just like this heaviness that I don't know how to explain.
Well, when I met Jennifer, I realized that she was really a perfect candidate for biofield tuning with the trauma that she had been through. Because when we have traumas, especially some kind of big trauma like that, some kind of, no control, big explosion, big input, it creates a kind of response in the field that freezes there. But I'll never forget coming in and finding the record in the field of that explosion and how massively she had been impacted by it. And how moving it was when we were in that memory and it was transmuting and releasing. And I remember feeling like she was healing not only herself, but so many others. Jennifer told me that after tunings that was a really big step in the healing process, was to release that trauma from the electrical system and start to really come into a place of greater coherence and healing. I'm more skeptical than anybody. So if you're skeptical, I get it, but just give it a try.
Our purpose on the planet is to take these kinds of situations and turn them and churn them and dissolve them and burn them up into something that serves us instead of thwarts us and distorts us and compresses us into living a life that is less than what we were designed to be living.
I was a nose tackle. I was significantly bigger than I am now, like 60 pounds heavier. Being 300 plus pounds, you get big man illnesses like high blood pressure. I had high blood pressure in college. I was on high blood pressure medication. When I would breathe, take in deep breaths, it felt like something was passing through my heart sometimes. That was scary. As soon as I went plant-based, my blood pressure went down. It balanced out. My tendonitis went away, which was the most important thing because I was in so much pain. Pain went away. I also lost 40 pounds in like a month and a half, but my bench press went up and I was running faster. I was a lot stronger. Went and played D-line again, and then started speaking about it because a lot of players are dying. Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, average age of 53 of retired players. According to a National Institute of Science and Health and NFL study, got into not just speaking about the sports and athletes and their health, but the general public as well, and food deserts, food swamps, and access to healthy food and knowledge.
A lot of our food these days, we think it's nutritious because it looks like a balanced meal, but actually there are a lot of anti-nutrients in our food these days, and we're eating it on a daily basis. This is stripping our bodies of essential vitamins and minerals. Instead of giving us food, it's taking goodness from our bodies. It's depleting us. And as a consequence, we've got a lot of inflammatory response going on. We have poor brain chemistry and emotions. People's hormones are being messed up. Their cortisol levels are much higher than they should be. Their adrenal glands are being stressed. And as a consequence, we are gaining extra weight because we're in a state of constant stress, in this fright and flight condition of constant fear brain chemistry because our cortisol is on edge. Cortisol is also incredibly aging. So when you start to reduce the inflammatory response of your body through eating correctly, we need to understand that we have a body for a reason. We have a spirit, we have a soul. When we start giving our whole selves this love that says, hello, gorgeous, I'm going to take care of you, because if you radiate, you will bring your gifts to the world. So it's learning to become your ideal self, to understand that you do not have to hang on to parts of you that no longer serve, that you're not trapped in your personality. You get to choose and find the part of you that loves to dance, that wants to be alive.
Revealing the masterpiece just beneath the skin.
Health is really a state of flow where we don't have all these pockets of subconscious tension and resistance and consequential inflammation. And anytime you have inflammation in one area, you end up with a deficiency in another. So we end up very out of balance with pockets of deficiency and pockets of excess, and the body isn't functioning. But when we work at the level of correcting the electrical system, the electrical system is the blueprint that guides and informs everything that's happening in the physiology. we all do have the potential to be in a state of health and harmony for our whole lives. And when we are accessing our potential, who knows what we can collectively create.
The patterns of the pain in your past. The things that broke you, they also awoke you to the questions you needed to ask.
I'd like to talk about trauma as a gift, which is a complete new perspective.
Yeah. One of the big traumas I had in my life was my sister, who was 11 years older than me, committed suicide. Losing her to suicide, it was literally the thing that woke me up. It shook me in a way that I don't know that I would have been woken up in that way. And so I dedicated myself to doing everything I could to find that joy, to heal in me anything that stopped me from being in that joy. And I'm grateful now. Healing from that and all that had to happen, I had to get in touch with my anger and understand that that anger was serving me because that pushed a huge anger button in me. And I had to get comfortable with feeling my anger. We're afraid to just feel and let it go. This is emotional intelligence, to be able to understand when we're having an emotion and how to manage that emotion.
That's what the bombings did, was gave me the ability to get in touch with all of that anger. And frankly, it was rage. And I had to heal the terrorist within me.
Yes.
It's a natural emotion that when we get in touch with it and we have an ability to express it in a healthy way, we can shift it quickly, in a matter of seconds, literally. But when we suppress it, in my experience, it builds and builds and builds, and we're like a ticking time bomb.
Right.
So whatever needs to be expressed needs to be expressed. And the more that we suppress that, we are literally suppressing ourselves, shutting ourselves down and dimming our light.
Yeah.
And the key here is to stay in that vibration of love and joy and in this moment, in the now. There's this notion that it's not okay to be angry. It's not okay to have fear. Those are the emotions that we were given. They serve a purpose. And I think that's the key, is to understand that it's all good.
I went on this path from a very young age to become an NFL athlete to really serve one purpose. I wanted to be happy. I was really miserable in my personal life because of, from the ages of 4 to about 12, that's when I got molested. I experienced a lot of mental abuse as well as physical abuse. The thing that wasn't so great was just the fact I did have this secret that I just couldn't tell anyone. All of that negative energy to help get me towards that goal of going into the NFL.
I was sexually molested as a child. My mom knew about it and my dad knew about it, but they never talked about. And like Reggie, football was a way to get that aggression out. I didn't want to let people in, or I didn't know how, because I was afraid to. They say the easiest way to kill your enemy is by isolating them. When you isolate yourself like that, you start to kill yourself. There's an organization that Reggie's on the board of called 1 in 6, and it's saying that 1 in 6 men have been molested in their life.
Like it's right in front of, right in front of, right in front of you. Living like it's right in front of you.
Get out there, talk to people, communicate with people, find people like yourself, like Reggie, and realize you're not the only person that's gone through this. We're stronger than that, not letting our fear, not letting our emotions weigh us down to the point to where we can't move, or to where we isolate ourselves, to where we kill ourselves. We don't want to be our own worst enemy. Yeah, that happened to us. That doesn't make us less than. It doesn't devalue us. It doesn't make us who we are.
I make myself available to talk and be the person that I wish I had. I want to be an example, and I want to be an ear for anyone who's gone through this trouble to really overcome it. Find someone that you can trust and just start sitting a little bit. Just a little bit. Like, don't go into it with the goal of, I'm going to dump everything out and then I'm going to be healed. That's not how this works. That was one of the biggest things I wish I could have done, is just talk about it. I think I could have made the path for myself way easier, a lot easier if I could just get it off my chest, but it's the hardest thing to do. I make it sound like it's an easy thing to do, but no, it's not. That's why I'm saying, like, just say a little bit. And then the next time, say a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, until you can finally get it out. Because the more that you speak about it, the less power it has over you. But at first, it's going to have all the power over you. And focusing on the right things. And when I mean right things, I mean the things that you want, the things that you feel that you're drawn to, the things that give you life, the things that open up parts of yourself that you want the world to see, that you want to see. Focus is really a superpower. Focus is that direction that you need, that you're going to need to get you out of these dark places. What you focus on grows. So those things that you want to create, focus on them.
Something that was just very profound in my own journey, when I realized that I was allowing somebody to terrorize me beyond the moment. If they terrorized you one moment, that's one thing, but they have no right over your whole life. When we make that decision that I'm not going to be terrorized anymore, allow yourself to have that mental freedom, because they can trap you. It can make such a difference just deciding, this is my life, and they have no right over it anymore.
So I look around the room and I see this dark shadow over Jennifer's head. I can see energy. But I knew that something bad happened. Something was traumatic.
I just wanted to run from that rather than lean in initially and go through the opportunity to have a breakthrough. And I resisted at first. She's like, I really think there's an opportunity for a breakthrough here if you're willing to come back in the room. And I said, I don't know how to do this. And she said, that's okay, I will guide you through the way. And I think that's an important lesson too. Sometimes we don't know how to process and handle our triggers, but to have people that we trust and respect who can hold this space and support us and guide us through that process is valuable. After that, we were able to embrace each other and see that the trigger was in fact a gift. It was an opportunity to come back to ourselves and reconnect with those parts of ourselves that we thought we wanted to disconnect from.
We suppress and repress, that the traumas in our lives. We compartmentalize them because you can't walk around 24/7 with that kind of pain. Most people who are suffering with chronic illnesses just haven't been willing or able to sit in the pain or the grief long enough to let it wash through their system. It's a process, folks. Be patient, be kind to yourself. Forgive yourself, for you know not what you did when you did it. At the level of consciousness you had at the time, you acted, your behavior was based on that. It changes. You got to start looking within. So meditation is what I would tell people to start doing. Start sitting down, being quiet, listening. Your soul self, your essence is always trying to get your attention. So unconsciously, we can attract synchronicities. Synchronicity is the universe's way. It's the wink. They call it God winks. It's a wink to keep you on your path. And signs and symbols are everywhere present.
In this moment, everything shows up, everything presents itself just as it is. And when you slow down, let it all happen.
I became, a perfectionist, and then, of course, living perfectionistically. By the time I graduated from college and graduated from school, became a doctor, opened up a clinic, I was managing myself in a lot of strain, a lot of high-strung stress. So I started meditating for purposes of stress relief. I had transcendental, multidimensional experiences that were otherworldly, that were blowing my scientific mind, because while I was raised in an environment of energy medicine and quantum science was our dinner table conversation. As I went through school, following the rules, we had to provide reproducibility and get clinical outcomes, and that was all about this linear way of thinking. So performance was linear, even though my understanding conceptually was quantum.
The brain is an amazing instrument, and it's capable of amazing creativity. And we actually stifle that by repetitive thinking, overthinking, worry, concern. And so with meditation, what you're doing is you are slowing down. You are decelerating the brain activity. You're giving it a rest. And that rest expands your holistic energy, and out of that arises natural creativity, focus. And so your creativity comes forth naturally, experientially, joyfully.
Meditation is a medication to cure the illusion of a separation,
I came into meditation because I was learning I wanted to have more productivity in my life. I wanted to be able to do more. And I was told by people that I knew that if I incorporated meditation into my practice, I'd be able to achieve more. And I was always about achieving more. Meditation for me was a struggle. I found slowing down to be very challenging. I developed a practice of just doing it for 5 minutes. Meditation really is designed to balance you and harmonize you. And so what I have found over the years is that when I meditate in the morning, it's like a jump start to my day. It literally helps me start my day newly and more empowered and more aligned in my being. I wasn't as anxious. I wasn't as panicky. It helped me become a better person.
When we practice our meditation, we get more proficient in maintaining a delta brainwave state, which gives us that state of being. That level of relaxation and presence, like you are when you're sleeping, that connection, but yet you are alert and attentive and functioning in the world still. Meditation is a practice for the body-mind experience to bring both balance to the hemispheres of the brain, the left and right side, and also increasing their amplitude of power. The bigger the range in any of those brainwave frequencies, then the more that you will have that state of being and state of peace within. Just to sit still, it's like a breath of fresh air for every other system in your body, from the nervous system, endocrine system, all of those systems in your body are just receiving that quietude. And that's why it has so much healing power. When you change your frequency of vibration in your whole state of being, anything that's not congruent with that new frequency of vibration is going to rise, it's going to surface, to be cleared. You're letting go, you're shedding the old, so that there is more space for more peace, more state of being within yourself.
When you breathe out, it's just like a rain cloud. Relief, it comes pouring down on a thirsty world. Meditation is a medication to cure the illusion of a separation.
We connect by not trying to connect. We connect by being present tenderly with the self. And when we do that, we start to vibrate at a frequency that is the frequency that connects all of us, that we're all made of. So there's this byproduct that gives this sense of belongingness and well-being and assuredness, to the point that we're no longer seeking for that. We are that, and we're interested in creating a better world. We're interested in allowing others to show up and to reveal and to heal just as we are. These types of energy frequencies are the ones that are required to allow the heart and the brain in the high brain centers to connect. Those frequencies are needed for the brain in your gut and the brain in your heart and the brain in your head to align. That's the common frequency. The energy that those dispositions cultivates is the vibrational frequency that is required for the trapdoor to open and for this illumination to be able to embody instead of just being a theory. It can now slide down into the body fully, and we can live as this energy being that we truly are. It isn't just that we attract better things into our lives when we do this. Those better things were always there. We just couldn't perceive them. Through these vibrational frequencies, we begin to see a world that was just sitting there waiting for us. You won't do it with your mind alone. That's why you can't when you can't. You'll do it when the mind and the body and the breath and the heart energy are interwoven so much that they're unified again. And that creates a singular frequency that is powerful beyond belief.
What happens when you balance and align your chakras constantly is your life begins to develop a different flow. The balancing frequencies are a medicine that immediately brings you into alignment. What begins to unfold is the new quantum human that is no longer hampered or living from a place where all their energy is dealing with these subconscious blocks that they've repressed for 5, 10, 15 years, in some cases centuries. As Bruce Lipton has very carefully stated in his book, that it is impactful on a cellular level, that sound and sound frequencies are roughly 100 times as powerful as supplements and pharmaceuticals. They actually have direct impact on the cell. Your cells are always eavesdropping on your thoughts. So if you have a barrage of negative thoughts, it's estimated 85 to 95% of human thinking is negative. Your cells are going to be listening to that and distorting your actual human experience. In our very simple software, you are able to decode some of the deepest blocks that you have carried and suppressed in your subconscious without going to the story. NASA scientists showed us that going into a therapist's office and telling the story, she actually showed us the brain image where it became encoded in the brain, it became stronger. An effective therapy, like sound, is that it's a loosening effect. It is actually going to the cause and releasing it through the use of vibration. So it's vibrating out this deeply held subconscious pattern that you may or may not be aware of. Sound is the medicine of the future, according to Edgar Cayce and many others. It is the way to vibrate out, or the loosening effect of the patterns of PTSD, depression, anxiety, without any side effects other than lightening the load, freeing you, giving you a new way to live.
I began my conscious spiritual journey about 25 years ago when I really felt like, is this all there is? Like, what is this thing called life about? I was told and I learned that you gotta look perfect and you gotta have everything be perfect, and tried to be perfect and reach for perfectionism as much as I possibly could. And each time I did, it fell short. I was dissatisfied. And I reached a level in my life where I was depressed, because if you feel like something will make you happy, and when you get that thing that is the illusion that will make you happy, and it didn't make you happy, then it's like, then what? What is this all about? Is this it? And I started doing very, very deep meditations, energy techniques, and my life started changing. I was astonished. All that I had created in that 5 years of just working on myself, being dedicated to shifting my thoughts, being dedicated to going from, okay, I don't feel good. What thought is creating me not feeling good? And shifting from lack to abundance. That became my work, and it's still my life's work.
If your life isn't the way you want it to be, the great news is just look in the mirror. And if you start to shift within yourself, then your outside world will start to shift.
If you want to go fast, then go alone. If you want to go far, you better bring somebody else along.
I wanted to face my fears and return back to the 2014 marathon. This time, I wanted to walk as far as I could. I managed to make 9 miles with my dear friend Charisse and my doctor, Dr. Christina Scott. It was actually a huge miracle, especially because of the fact that I couldn't walk normally for the first 5 months after the bombings. As somebody who's been so independent and doing things mostly on my own, was an executive in corporate America, and I had teams all around me and stuff like that. But this experience was different. You don't just get up one day and go, hey, I'm going to go do 26.2 miles. That's not how it works. You actually have to commit. You have to train. Not only train, but we opted to fundraise because it was important for me that we give back and that we pay it forward and that we help one of the firefighters whose sister battled with lupus. If we're going to do something, like let's go all in. I don't even have words to describe it. Incredibly blessed, humbled, grateful. I mean, these two were like literally, Christina's on one side, Teresa's on the other, and they're bantering back and forth and trying to keep me in the game. And I'm like, this is awful. I'm like, the last one is somebody who's so athletic and competitive. And literally, there are people that are in their 70s and 80s, like scuffling by me, and I'm like, what am I doing? And like, what, and I'm 42. Just completely moved that people would sacrifice their life and their time to do this commitment with me, and they all live busy lives, and to go out and do that, it meant the world to me.
Touches every little piece and every little part. What's inside of you is inside of me.
I thought I was ready to soar. I thought 1 year was enough. But as it turned out, it was just a big step forward in my journey. And it wasn't a straight line. There were twists and turns and ups and downs. Year 1 was all about facing my fears. And year 2 was learning how to rise above my rage and healing the terrorist within me. Overwhelmed with rage and my body still in so much pain, I couldn't see a way out of the hellhole I found myself in. I was driving to a family event and the thought crossed my mind to end my life. As this thought flooded my mind, tears were streaming down my face. 2 images came next, the first of my mom and my sister. I justified to myself that once we were reunited in heaven,
that they would surely understand. The second image was of my two beautiful nieces, who were just 6 and 8 at the time. Sobbing, I realized I can't justify taking my life. This turned out to be a pivotal moment when I chose to live, to do whatever it took to rise up from that very dark and scary place.
I was running from my life, doing everything I could to not face myself and face my past, which was not so great at times. And yet here there's an experience that brought me back to a place where I had to stop. I had to look at my past. I could no longer run from it. And what I realized was, I thought running from it, I'd be able to outrun it someday. And I realized after years and years and years, it never worked. And so this experience gave me an opportunity to do something different. What if I had to face my past? What if I actually had to look at those moments of my life that I had so much regret and so much shame, so much guilt? And I had to feel it in order to be able to let it go, so it no longer had a hold on me. And that's when the real healing happened. When I went inside and went within and started to deal with that stuff that was hard. It was hard to face it. It was hard to live it. The emotions that came through were awful. And yet, every time I'd go through that experience and I'd allow myself to feel those feelings as raw as they were, I felt a little bit of peace on the other side of that. Those moments of peace kept me going, kept me wanting to go deeper, so that I could heal myself from the inside out and stop looking to heal myself from the outside in.
And I remember during this experiment, and I had walked by a mirror and paying attention to my thoughts, I think I had about 10 cut downs, 10 criticisms of myself in that mirror. And it stopped me because, wow, it was so negative. And I even remember stopping and saying, "You're so mean." If that's going on in my head and I believe it to be true, how could I ever find peace? How could I ever connect with the truth of what I now know, the abundance of the universe? Because it was all about lack. And that's where my healing journey began. I had to learn how to literally rethink and be aware that the thoughts I was thinking, I had the power to shift them and change them. Because before that, I would just believe the horrible things I was telling myself about anything, right? That the universe isn't safe, that I'm not protected, and that I'm a bad girl because I'm not perfect or because I've messed up, or we're not valuable or not important or significant. I was hearing that all day, every day. I thought I was my thoughts. I thought my thoughts were real. I didn't know that there was something in me that was the observer, the witness, or the awareness of my thoughts. We have a mind, but we're not our mind. We have a body, but we're not our body. We have emotions, but we're not our emotions. So if we're not our mind, and we're not our body, and we're not our emotions, then what are we? We're the consciousness, we're the awareness that's aware that we are in a body, having a human experience, thinking a thought. We're that awareness, we're that consciousness, we're that literally that divine expression in a container called a human being. Well, our body is our vehicle. And if our emotions are saying, I'm overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, I'm resentful, I'm disappointed, we need to be aware of that and be able to feel those emotions, process them because it's energy. Because as you do, then you can bring in compassion for yourself for having a trauma, for having that emotion, for having an experience, for having contrast. You can allow yourself to feel compassion because there are moments of being human that do not feel good.
Most of my life, I was running from myself and my pain and my childhood trauma. And the irony is, I go through an experience at the Boston Marathon to stop me dead in my tracks and to actually face myself and face my trauma and feel the pain. And I think that's it. I think people are afraid to feel their pain. And I want to be really clear. We don't have to do it for long. You talk about this, it's 90 seconds. If we give ourselves permission to experience whatever's coming up, sadness, anger, pain, and be with that, wherever that is in the body, bring our attention and awareness there, it taught me how to love myself and those parts of me that were just looking to be nourished and nurtured. And as a result, I was able to shift it. And when I shifted it, I released it. And then I started to feel more alive. Everyone has the ability to do that within themselves. And then you bring in, like you said, the energy that you want to experience, the higher vibration, peace, love, joy, bliss.
Yes.
We have the ability to do that.
We not only have the ability to do that, we're divinely designed for that. We're not here to struggle. We're not here to be in drama and chaos and feel this separation from those things that we want to enjoy. We're actually here to literally enjoy and thrive. But all emotions are important information for us to know about ourselves, to be able to literally take any contrast and shift into what we do want. We decided when something happened in our outer reality, we decided how to perceive it and said, that's bad, or I'm bad, or I'm not enough. It was a decision. And we can make a new decision in any given moment that we are loved, that we are important, that we are significant, that we are going to enjoy our lives because each of us has free will and choice to do that. Just like the awareness to look at something from like a camera lens. If you're going to take a picture of something, right? You could take a picture like a close-up, or you can go back and look at a different perspective, have a wider, more expanded view. That choice is ours.
Absolutely.
Free will. When you shift from lack and limitation to abundance and expansion, your outer reality shifts. It's basic universal law. It's truth.
It is.
You create your own reality. Each of us are doing this every moment of every day. People are living in hell on earth right now. And then there's other people that are choosing to be in heaven, to being in that Garden of Eden, to literally feel peace and prosperity and success and love and well-being. You consciously, deliberately get to mold and shape your life as you choose it to be. So you can let go of the things that are the traumas of the past, are the reaction points, are the pain body points, and release the pain body. Release with the pain doesn't take long. When you're just accepting of it, feel it, let it go, and choose the love body. Choose to be in love. Choose to be in light.
doesn't serve me to stay angry. It serves me to recognize that I am bigger than any of these circumstances. And when we do so, we send messages into our own cells that then start producing different chemicals, and those different chemistries and neurotransmitters start to fire through our body and generate immunity and an ability to digest and an ability to have stamina and to be responsive and to youth rather than age, and to be alive and vital and to thrive. The breath work will help us to open the door. Just breathing in the belly, it automatically activates the parasympathetic nervous system that calms you down instead of the sympathetic nervous system that gets you into fight or flight. And so it allows you to just incrementally move yourself into more of this state. When you do feel triggered, it is because you've tapped into something else that was stuck beneath the trap door. So think of it like the trap door. There are thousands of little trap doors. It's not just one trap door, because anyone can do that. Even if in hearing this conversation, the immediate thought is, there's no way I can let go. This has been happening in my life for 30 years. It is true for everyone. There are no exceptions to how we are built and how the system works and what we can do to shift it. It is almost as if the mind is the last to know that you're okay. Once you start moving this energy in the body and you start working with your own system on the self, this happening in your life was a way for you to come home to yourself. And that is culturally what we all have to learn to do. I describe it like we land here and we kind of splat. And in the splat, we disperse our energies, and our mind goes one way and our body and our breath, and we don't see them as a system that's supposed to be woven together and integrated and operating as a single unit. We see them as different parts of who we are. Our job in our life is to gather ourselves back from that splat and learn what self feels like. We can be free regardless of where we've been and what's happened in our lives. So it's a matter, I find, of cultivating this spiritual energy being rather than continuing to feed the personality who's wounded and hurt and devastated and confused and buckled over. And as we identify as the energy itself, we can bring that personality along the way and heal it and allow it to be part of something greater than itself.
First your heart goes cold, then your stare goes long. Fire in your eyes, the burning desire left long ago.
Scientifically, 5% of your life is coming from your wishes and desires. 95% is coming from your program. The things that you wish for and desire and you struggle over and you work hard and you sweat over them. Why are you working so hard? The programs that control that do not support the solution. You look at your life and you go, the things that I like to come in, I don't have to do anything about it. I already got the programs to let them have it. But the things you wish for and your desire that you want in your life and you struggle over, it's not because life won't give it to you. You're not a victim of the life doesn't want you to be happy. No. 95% of the day you are sabotaging yourself with behavior that you cannot see. And that behavior is reflected in the inability to get to where you want to go. That destination, be it relationships, health, good job. If you can't get there without struggling, that means the struggle is an expression of your program doesn't support that. And you're trying to override 95% of the day's programming. If I'm not successful, I'm not a victim of forces or people outside of me. I'm a victim of my own program. Look at your life. The struggles you have are not because of the outside, it's because of the inside. And if you understand this, you can reprogram. And if you can reprogram, you can have heaven on earth. Guess what? You can create the life you want.
With our eyes wide shut in the still of the night, we sit and hold the vision. When the fears burn wild, we don't run and hide. We see a world with no division.
to a person, not only amongst this group, but all of the other people that have been involved in the film have had an experience of trauma. At least one, if not many, piled on top of each other. And also very commonly kept that to themselves. And even if they had managed to triumph through those traumas and come out on the other side, we still weren't having conversations with each other. We weren't talking about these traumas from our past because we were ashamed, embarrassed. Why didn't I avoid that? You know, in my case, carried that secret and told no one for over 20 years. And the thing that's astounding to me, and the reason why I was so interested in having this conversation today, is that every single time I've told that story now, the other person or some other person in the room has come up to me and said, oh my gosh, me too. That happened to me, or something similar happened to me. And while you're going through the thing that you're going through, the first thing you feel is, I'm in this by myself. We don't talk about when our relationships don't go the way that we wanted. We don't talk about domestic violence. We don't talk about substance abuse in our families. We don't talk about health issues and challenges. We don't talk about business failures. We just don't talk about that because we're trying to maintain this perfection facade that we feel has been given to us, I think, in our society. We have to, you know, look a certain way, act a certain way, perform a certain way, our hair, our nails, our skin, or what, you know, there's so many messages that tell us how not okay we are. My favorite latest one is like, the whites of our eyes are not white enough, for goodness sake. I'm like, really? I have to worry about that now? But, you know, when you open up about the trauma and you find other people like you, Jennifer, who was given all kinds of information about how your life was going to be after you experienced your trauma, and something about that just didn't resonate with you. And you said, you know what? I'm not going to settle for that. I'm not going to settle for that. I'm going to go find my own path. I'm going to forge my own way. And, you know, by you doing that and sharing your story, you encourage all of us to share our stories. And we're not going to settle either now. And I think that, you know, we've formed a formidable partnership here. And I really feel like this is just the beginning. We've got a lot of work to do, ladies.
Call it a task force. It shows what's possible. Like, if we can do it, if we can have this round table, imagine the discussions anybody we can bring all over, anybody that we meet, because we're willing to show up in our authenticity. We allow someone else to also show up in theirs. What a beautiful gift that is to ourselves, to the other person, and really to the world. And I feel like that's one aspect of this whole transformational place. It is rising up.
There's a strength inside of us that if you really want it to happen, if you really want to be part of something that is bigger than you, then you have to understand that you'll never rise above the opinion of yourself, right? So it's how you view you, and that's really all that matters.
We rise up when we are together and we unite even in our differences. We want to see everybody on the planet rising and thriving in their lives.
It's a hero's journey, shedding off the skin from the past.
For me, it was talking, right? The hardest thing that I ever did was call my wife and have to talk about some stuff that happened there. And I remember telling her, and she goes, "Was that your job, Brian?" "Yeah." She says, "Your job is to come home to me and Brent." I said, "You're right." So I did my job. And then I got home, and they told our spouses, don't speak to them about what happened. They'll talk to you about it when they're ready. And that was the worst thing to happen to me, because I would try talking, and then I always felt like that monkey in a zoo. Everybody was always waiting for me to throw shit at them or do something crazy. And I kept going like, why do they just stare at me at family functions?
Yeah.
And then I just kept going farther and farther into myself until I finally broke down. And then I started talking. I started talking to other veterans and stuff, and I got up and I do speaking engagements with TAS for like the Army National Guard. And I mean, I went from a point I couldn't leave my house to go shopping to speaking in front of 400 people. And it makes a difference because it opens up a line of communication with spouses, kids. And that's the key to this, is you have to talk to your family, you know, and we've done bad things, but we did our job.
Right.
Nothing we did it was what we're supposed to do.
As a human being, we've all been through something. So we all have something inside of us that we can find when we tell our stories that can help somebody else. And that's what we need to do. We need to share with one another, and then we need to say, this is what helped me. Try this.
There's a key distinction about sharing your story, and if you're reliving that trauma over and over and over again, that's not serving you, and it's probably not serving the other person. As we share it more, we actually get more empowered. Does that make sense? And we sit there and we're like, you know what? That experience, as awful as it was, I'm gonna actually use that to fuel, to make a difference. I'm not gonna be a victim to that anymore, because we could be. We could be a victim of that if we choose, of any trauma, right? But instead, if we can actually shift it and take that and go, okay, well, how am I gonna take this and make a difference? And just by speaking up, you save a life, right? And so just be vigilant about what it is you want to, you know, what purpose and what it is you want to contribute back, so other people don't have to suffer and go through what you went through.
No matter who's been wrong, forgiveness is what we have. It's a hero's journey. No matter what's been done. With our eyes wide shut in the still of the night, we sit and hold the vision. When the fears burn wild, we don't run and hide. We see a world with no division.
When Jennifer and I first met, and we began to share our experiences with each other, and we directly experienced that deep connection, because here's somebody who understands. We both have direct experience at the opposite ends of a terrorist attack that happened at different years in two different places. One in Mumbai in 2008 and one in Boston in 2013. And my husband and daughter were in Mumbai at that time, and both were killed in that attack. The bottom dropped out of my world. Out of the 10 terrorists, there was one who survived, and they showed his picture because he was then captured. And here was a young man, about 20 years old, the same age as one of my sons, in khaki pants, holding an AK-47 at the Mumbai train station. And I heard these words come through my awareness: forgive them, they know not what they do. It wasn't anything I was thinking. I couldn't be thinking, couldn't even really feel. So I just then repeated those words aloud to my family, and they said, well, oh, I don't know about that. And then I found myself saying there's already too much hate. We have to send love, compassion.
I've been on a journey of forgiveness, you know, actually having the opportunity to be in the courtroom and give a victim impact statement and look the bomber in the eye and genuinely and authentically forgive them. And that's something I'm not sure I would have, you know, realized I would have done. If someone had said to me, gee, you know, you're going to go through this, the most horrific event in your life, and you'll have an opportunity to forgive, you know, the bombers that did that to you, I probably would have said no way. But what I realized was forgiveness wasn't about them. It was about releasing me from being a victim of that. I never viewed myself as a victim. I've always viewed myself as a survivor, but I still felt attached to that experience. I had a lot of rage and anger that I had to work through. And the minute that I actually forgave the bombers for what they did, this overwhelming amount of peace came over me. And I started to see that my own healing actually accelerated. Not that it, I had been making progress, but, some of that rage and anger just dissipated.
So I'm just curious, you're standing in the courtroom.
Yes.
You're looking at these two people who...
Actually one, because one died.
One died, that's right, I remember.
Yes.
You look at this one person.
Yes.
And you're looking at him, and you've just done your impact statement, talking about all the things that happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I forgive you.
Yes.
And did you feel something immediately then, or did it only come
No.
later, the next day? When did you start to feel the impact of having done that?
It was immediate.
Immediate.
It was immediate. So the irony is that he never looked at anyone in court. And I think there were 27 people that gave an impact statement that day. And I was 26. And I think it was the grace of God, actually, in that moment that I was just about to say that I forgave him and his brother for the horrific act. He looked me in the eye, and there was just that moment of eye exchange. And it happened instantaneously. I just felt this release and this feeling of peace. And actually, for the first time, I felt compassion and love towards him. And I didn't expect that as a result of going through that, but I genuinely had compassion for him and love and understanding. I don't know why he did what he did, but I no longer harbored those ill wills or anger towards him. It just dissipated. Seeing the power of that and how it positively affects the acceleration of my own healing ability, I think forgiveness is a big piece of that, and it's free.
Too. Yeah. So forgiveness is free. Very good. Doesn't cost anything.
Doesn't cost a thing.
You have to write a check.
It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's another day under the same sun. It's another day to lean in and claim some. It's another day to be bold, brave, and unafraid. It's another chance to change direction. Move the arrow, course correction. Be an instrument, be the change and move out of the way. So if your glass is half empty, then fill it. If it's overflowing, then spill it. Over the mouths that thirst and the souls that hurt. Spill it, spill it, spill it, 'cause I need your heart. We need it open wide. We need you brilliantly beaming, glowing, loving goodness from inside. We need a beautiful smile, and we need it right now. 'Cause you're the light of the world, the light of the world, and it's time you're figuring it out. It's time, it's time.
After so much healing, I realized something inside of me knew I hadn't finished what I started back in 2014. So I embarked on something that seemed like an impossible feat, and it was to return back to the 2017 Boston Marathon in an attempt to finish the race.
The most amazing part was standing in front of Marathon Sports, exactly where Jen was standing once the bombs went up. But not only was I there, her family was there. And it was like, it was saying, you know what, we're not afraid to be here. And we belong here. And this is our turn. But the best part was being at the finish line at the end and waiting for her to come around the corner and for us to see her coming down the road. And she was so excited, and I filmed her as she was running by, and she's going, yes, yes, yes. And that was like the best thing, to see her complete the finish. I was so proud of her because she struggled. Training for this, she struggled. It wasn't an easy feat to accomplish, and but that's who Jen is. I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna do it. Watching Jen cross the finish line was like the burden that she had carried for so long was finally behind her, and that gave her the strength to go on and do awesome, amazing things beyond that. Jen's life's been on quite the trajectory. Just some amazing things have come into her life, working on a couple of film projects, and just all the great people that she's gotten to meet, and some of the great teachings that she's been able to learn and to pass on to other people. But everybody has challenges in life, and it's how are you going to move through those challenges that makes a difference. And any little thing that you can do that might inspire somebody else makes a difference out there. You don't need a traumatic event to change your life and take back your power, whatever that looks like for you. So my challenge would be for you to go out and live a life that you love and create it.
If you want to go fast, then go alone. If you want to go far, you better bring somebody else along. In the moment of darkness, in the moment of truth, you'll think you're lucky stars that there's someone there with you. There's a beauty in numbers it's impossible to deny. It takes two hands to applaud and a pair of wings to reach the sky. Where there was one, there will be many. Where there was nothing, there will be plenty. When me turns to we like...
I would say it's believing in your calling, answering that call, and being willing to answer that call even if it means going in the complete opposite direction of everyone around you. That's the hero's journey. And that means not following the herd, but going where our soul is whispering, is nudging us. And that means really being in our authentic self. That the authentic self is moved by nature, is moved by its own soul, not by the expectations of others. And we're watching the evolution of humanity right in front of our eyes. And, very often it's darkest before the dawn. Very often we need the contrast of contraction and difficulty and stress and trauma to appreciate the contrast of moving into a more light, expanded, healed place. Because deep down, everybody does know that they're great. But how often does it get seen and acknowledged and supported? We've learned to use our power, the power of our own word, for example. Many people use that to attack themselves. It's really been my observation that we've been sort of trained to have an inner critic and an inner judge. And so instead of using the word creatively as a superhero to make yourself to be all that you can be so that you can have impact for good in the world, right? Because that's what superheroes do. They're here to impact in a positive way. And how are you going to impact in a positive way unless you accept the truth of who you are and really allow that? And so I really want to invite people into that place and know that yes, you're a superhero doesn't make you better than anybody else, because we're all superheroes. We're all on an even playing ground here. And we're all superheroes in different ways, and that's the beauty of it. And the world needs you to be the superhero that you are.
Together we rise, together we thrive. We believe in circles, 'cause circles take no sides. Together we win.
So Eileen, I want to thank you for taking the time to come out and do this really magical experience of tuning myself and basically all of humanity in the center of a labyrinth. Tell us a little bit about why you thought tuning in a labyrinth would be so magical.
Well, Jen, when you told me that the intention of the film is to create a vortex, it was just the first thing that came to mind. And I've always loved labyrinths. I love the whole process of going into a labyrinth and what happens. So for people that have never been in one, it's designed to mimic the human brain. And so what we do with a labyrinth is we approach it with some kind of question or some kind of struggle that we're looking for resolution. And then we walk along the path And what's so interesting about it is just when you think that you're getting close to the center, it kicks you back out, like all the way almost to the very outside before it brings you back into that center. And I find that that's such a great metaphor for life, because there's so many times when we think that we're almost there, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves so far away. We're like, what's this with this one step forward, two step backward thing? But in the labyrinth, you come to the center and you open to receive whatever answer or solution is going to come. And so the thought of doing a tuning on you in the center of the labyrinth to really help, for me, I feel like it's really about connecting to nature. That the simplest and most profound medicine that is available to us is surrendering to nature. And going out in the woods and quieting the mind and standing barefoot on the earth and listening to the birds and just going into that state of being. And we have so many different obstacles in us that stop us from really able to just be fully present and surrender to nature, right? And some of those came up while I was working on you.
As you were tuning me, I could feel places where the energy was stuck, right? I could feel this resistance. We would talk through that a little bit, and then I would feel it shift. I could also feel at one point you were doing quite a bit of work around my heart. I felt this kind of knot in my stomach, and you picked up on it, or the tuning fork picked up on it, and I felt this connection between my heart and really my womb area, which is fascinating, right? Because here we are, I feel we are evolving, and I feel like we're going through a rebirth process. And so we're transitioning out of our victimhood, our traumas, our wounds, if you will, and tapping back into our authentic selves.
And that the way that we heal the world really is by healing ourselves and feeling worthy of bringing ourselves to a state of high voltage, of high coherence, of high energy, because you have that potential and you're worth it. And when you do that for yourself, you do that for everyone around you. A rising tide lifts all boats. It just does. We want everyone to feel free. We want everyone to feel that potential, because they can.
When I do that inner work, there's this greater expansion that happens. And in that expansion, my experience is I experience more bliss, more peace, more joy, more love. And it doesn't matter what's going on in the exterior world. And the way I look at it is that is my contribution back. You throw a pebble into the pond and you see this ripple, right? Well, what if we choose to be the ripple of bliss? And then everybody in our environment and in our surroundings get to experience that too. And if they ripple bliss, I believe the world can rise up from the turmoil and the chaos and transition into this state of harmony and bliss. I no longer refer to things as transformation. I call it blissformation.
What a great word. Our bodies are actually built for bliss. We have all these pleasure centers. We have all of these senses and ability to appreciate beauty and harmony and deliciousness. So why wouldn't we set that as our goal, that we experience bliss?
And we want everyone to experience love and to know that they are loved. We can be the light and shine that light so others can find their way and their path to rise up to their own greatness. And that's what I believe. And so I believe that it is my duty, it is my honor, especially after going through some of the deepest, darkest days of my life, to actually shine more light into the world and radiate love, because we all deserve it. I came across channeling during my healing journey, and most recently working with Christy Whitman and Christina Hill. And what I have found is that channeling is tapping into higher realms of wisdom and insight. And even though it seems really far out, and trust me, it did for me in the beginning, I have found tremendous healing and insights in working with both Christy and Christina. And so I encourage you, as you listen to this next segment, to just notice how you feel. Your mind is probably going to tell you this is crazy, this is woo-woo, this is far out there. But if you can actually put that aside and just notice how it makes you feel, listen to the words that they speak, and notice the insights that they're giving to you and how you too can rise up from adversity and trauma and live a life where you're thriving and experiencing bliss and peace.
Most of my teachers have been channeled beings, and I always found truth in the channeling with others. And one day I could see this, literally this council of light, and I could sense it, I could see it, and I could hear it. And they told me to create a sacred circle of light and told me exactly what to do. I couldn't understand. It was like too many people were talking to me. I'm like, I can't understand. So my consciousness went out, that my body flung over the chair. And it was like I was listening to them, and I was astonished, like what had happened. And when I came back in, they left. I'm crying. The ladies on the call, they were like, oh my God, that was incredible. The voice was different. The cadence was different. It was clearly not me in this experience. So the council came in, and they've been with me ever since. And they're here to talk about and help human beings learn how to master their energy. And I'm just thrilled and so blessed that I get to be the voice for them.
That's great. Would you like to bring them in?
I would love to bring them in.
Great.
We are here.
Hi, Council.
Hello, dear one. We are making our film debut.
Yes, you
Look
are.
at us. We are delighted.
You are the star of the show.
Happy as always.
Great. I'd love to ask, what words of wisdom do you have for people today, and how they can evolve in consciousness and rise up and live a life of their dreams and thriving?
You all have the ability to heal yourselves. If you do not know how, you are now in a time, in an age, where you are not isolated by yourself. Reach out on the internet. You are creating this film so more can understand that it is not only possible, probable, it is inevitable. And you choose and decide the type of energy and experience. From the inside out, your lives will change. It is that simple. Don't listen to the people that don't have the lives that you want to live. Don't take advice from those that are in struggle. Find those. There are so many beautiful coaches, people that are dedicated in light service. Find those people that are living their best lives. They're the ones to learn from. They're the ones to be influenced by. Oh, when you get it, that the presence, that the awareness, that the consciousness is within you right now, not at a certain place or with a certain person, or when you make a certain amount or accomplish or move into a house or anything else. Enjoy your physical reality. Enjoy the things of the material world. But don't be disempowered by it. Your power is within. Your power is energy. And it's accessible to you now. We infinitely love you all. And we always say before we go out, you are infinitely loved. You are infinitely loved. There is no higher truth than this.
No matter what our past or situation or what we're experiencing now, it is possible to transcend that. The possibility of healing from trauma is absolutely real. It's pulsating. We're built for this. We're built to experience life and then to move through that and to change and to rise up. And rising and thriving is now our invitation. So when Othello came, after that day in 2015, she started speaking through me all the time. And I started to learn from her. She was present everywhere I went. And I began practicing a very disciplined practice of first-person channeling with her. And it took many, many years. It was a journey to learn how to sit still in stillness and be able to see my essence move aside and allow this very powerful, awesome light to pass through. And so from homeless to Carnegie Hall was my journey with Othello. And just like incredible concepts about wealth and abundance. There's this overwhelming presence when Othello comes in that is totally Syrian and healing. And that vibration has taken myself and our team around the world. It's absolutely changed my life. Othello says we don't need any belief. Belief is not necessary for this. It's just simply an energy field that we can partake in, like water. And when Othello speaks, she changes and utilizes my voice box, my vocal cords, and changes the vibration. And everyone around in the environment that hears it is also impacted by that. That's the Blu-ray light. Light. That is also another vibrational attunement. This light, you are born with it. You've had it your whole existence, even before you came into the physical. Take your hands now and place them over your heart center. The light is here. As you touch, you connect with it, you affirm it. Now release. The light is still there, and you can spread it out into your day. Awareness that you are light is why humans are here on the planet, is to become aware that you are light. That's your life mission. The fear demia that has been spreading is designed to take you inside, to feel your own light, to know yourself as light. The planet is being appraised, ascending, and everyone is being called to come up now. This also means there will be less and less racy thought consciousness. There will be more light illumination. And that is a feeling. You are all feeling it now. The fear demia is here as a teaching and as a ladder, a stepping stool, an instrument by which every human being can now rise above. You are being called to face a fear that you cannot even see. It's testing you on levels of your spirituality, your togetherness. That the reason for all of the trauma and all of the loss was to learn about freedom. To turn inward into the light. What every human now is being called and asked to do is to hold the light. For your energy, your attention to something is atomic, and whatever you put your attention to is going to grow. Instead, place your attention on health, seeing yourself and others in total health. Speak it, sing it, listen to health affirmations. Write affirmations on your water glass and then drink it. Speak to the children about health, how happy you are that the planet is healing. See yourself in health. I hold you in health vibration. Hold yourself in a vision of health. This will spread, and it is the only cure. Consciousness is now being renewed. There are two options. You can continue to be in the fear, or you can rise above. This film is an opportunity to drink from the nectar of light and to change. Begin with sitting with yourself quietly every day. Notice what thought has brought you in the past. If you want something different, you will change those thoughts. The mind is only a small, tiny aspect of the vastness of who you are. The bliss is the nectar and the expression that flows out as a result of coming inside. You cannot find your bliss outwardly. No. The bliss, it will arise naturally from within here.
In the still of the night, we sit and hold the vision. When the fears burn wild, we don't run and hide. We see a world with no division.
So my journey of rising up was not easy, and yet it's the most rewarding thing I've done. If you had said to me that I would live through a terrorist attack and then find a way to rise up from that experience all naturally, something I did not know how to do before, then go on and be featured in a best-selling book with Jack Canfield, be interviewed by Jack on Hollywood Live, to receive a Quilly Award and be inducted into the National Academy of Experts and Best-Selling Authors, to actually producing 2 Emmy Award-winning films, to then later go on and create a first ever Broadway show with Rudy Rudiger that we won Telly Awards for. And now, actually directing and producing this film, which is part of a series. I could never imagine having been able to do that. And so what I want you to walk away from is that in the beginning, I didn't believe I could do all this, but I was blessed to be surrounded by such amazing people, many of whom just came into my life after the bombings took place. So I invite you to actually ask yourself, is it worth rising up from whatever adversity or whatever trauma that you may be dealing with so that you too can live your best life? If I can do it, I promise you can too.
How do you rise up when you feel you have fallen? Trying to solve all of life's problems. Answers come when you notice the signs. They're all around you. Let yourself thrive. Love heals your heart. Let it be your master. Love yourself first. You are your own romancer. Rise up to your bliss formation. Rise up to your powerful transformation. Rise up, let go of the trauma. Rise up, you have the power to be strong. Rise up. How do you rise up and triumph over your triggers? Balancing the waves, not making them bigger. Let inner peace lead you, you know the way. Be the love you need, your heart will be okay. Speak from your heart, be your own hero. Let your words flow like the colors of a rainbow. Rise up to your bliss formation. Rise up to your powerful transformation. Rise up, let go of the trauma. Rise up, you have the power to be strong. Rise up. Words are not enough to describe this blissful magic carpet ride. Rise up to your...
Some of you may be wondering what's next. We invite you to come join us on the Rise and Thrive movement. You can follow us on social media, you can stay tuned via email, but just know that this film is part of a series, so there's more to come. There's courses and events to help you on your journey of rising up and learning how to thrive.
Rise up to your bliss formation. Rise up to your powerful transformation. Rise up, you have the power to rise up.
Thank you again. That was wonderful.
You are
everyone. I've unmuted you, and you can turn on your video if you'd like to join in a conversation. We do have time to have some Q&A that Kathy Mason will lead with us. So, and yes, we've been getting wonderful viewership on unify.org, I'm hearing. So that's such a powerful movie. I'm rising up.
Yeah,
don't you feel like how am I going to get to sleep?
I thought we'd be coming back on and we'd be.
I don't know if you guys felt it, but you know, the film is actually embedded with sound and light frequencies. So every time you watch it, so you know, I'm actually usually in bed at this time. It's 11:11 actually on the East Coast, literally at this moment. And so it's past my bedtime, but I literally am energized. And every time I watch it, that's what happens. So I'm blessed. I have an incredible team that helped us create that.
So Jen, while we're waiting for other people to have the courage to ask questions, how did you select all of the different components for this? Because you really cover so much in this. How did you decide the sequence and who to include? Did you have to cut out a whole bunch of this?
Yeah. So I mentioned in the film that I always saw this as a trilogy, because there's so much that I learned in the 8 years of healing from that experience. So it's now been 9 years since the bombings took place, and it took about 4 solid years for me to fully, come to the other side. And then I was just kind of getting my feet wet, getting back into life. So we actually have 70 hours of footage. The biggest challenge was condensing it to, an hour and 37 minutes. And I know for those of you that watch the whole thing, but there was such powerful messages from each of the speakers. And this film was about laying a foundation. I didn't know at the time that when we decided to embark on this journey was in the beginning of COVID.
Right.
So I didn't realize how important that this film was going to be, and sharing the insights and wisdom that I learned. And I wanted to be able to share that with others. So it took a lot of work for us to synthesize it and pull in the pieces to tie back a storyline that could affect everyone.
Right.
Like everyone on the planet who is struggling with trauma or any sort of adversity could watch this film. We've actually had people contact us and said, "You've saved my life. I was on the verge of committing suicide."
Yeah.
I didn't know when we were making this film that it had that kind of impact. And I'm humbled. I'm actually humbled by that.
Well, it is an activation. There's no question about it, because I can feel it right now. And I've been blessed to get to see it a couple of times. So, and I mean, having Jack Canfield in it and Dr. Sue Morter and I mean, these healers. And then you were brave enough at the end to include Chandler's, which, I mean, up until then, it was pretty much maybe accepted the new mainstream, but on the way to the alternative healing part was still not generally understood. But then you went all the way. What made you include the channeling?
I really thought it was a pivotal and important moment in our history to start to open up to there is a whole nother dimension of reality that we all can tap into. And I will say, listen, I am the biggest skeptic. I thought when I first stumbled on channeling, I thought, what on earth is this? Right. And I wasn't raised that way. I was not, and so I had to actually challenge my own beliefs. But something felt different. So even though my mind was saying, this is absolutely crazy, this is far out, what the heck are you getting yourself into? I felt something in my body that is hard to articulate, but it was like pulling me forth and calling me in and getting me to go deeper. And as I went deeper, I would transcend and I would literally experience bliss on a more regular basis. And that is the opportunity. We can delve into that at any moment in time. It's simply a choice.
That's so cool.
So I wanted to, now I will have, this is the beauty of being a director, because I had a lot of my team did not think it was wise to go there. And it was a risk, but the truth is it really paved the way, because the next film, which is called There Is More to Life, is a deeper dive into showing people how it is truly possible to thrive. And I know a lot of people out in the world today, not everyone necessarily listening here with us in this moment, but so many people are like, thriving? How is that possible? We've spent the last 2.5 years dealing with a worldwide pandemic, right? We've had wars going on. We've had all of this turmoil, but it's simply a choice. We can choose to stay in that paradigm, which is a lower frequency and vibration, or we can choose to live into higher realms and dimensions. And it's a single choice. And the more I do it, and the more the people around me do it, then we collectively get to evolve.
Exactly.
And so I recognize, my whole life, all I ever wanted to do was make a difference. I didn't realize that every day that I sit in meditation and every day that I choose to live in an intention and come from a place of love, that I'm serving humanity and I'm serving our planet. I used to perceive that making a difference was, changing my outside world. It's like Gandhi said, we change from within.
Exactly.
And then everything around us starts to change and evolve. And I've noticed in these times such beauty. I've noticed more vibrancy out in nature when I go for walks. I've noticed the rainbows actually are brighter, right? We have more birds, they're singing. And so in the midst of transition and in the midst of hardship, there's also good. The question is, are we focused on it?
Perfect. Well, this was a perfect film to put with World Unity Week, The Road to Peace, because there's so many different nuggets that are in this film of how we can learn and model what the film shows to get to peace. The forgiveness part, I don't know if you want to talk some more about that, but that is huge, Jen. I mean, I'm glad my camera wasn't on because I was crying again. I mean, it is huge.
Forgiving the unforgivable was the hardest thing I've done. Now you have to understand, I explained year one. So you have to know, before the bombings took place, I was a successful businesswoman, very outgoing, very well known in my community. And when that experience happened, I withdrew. I withdrew from my family. I withdrew from my friends. I withdrew from the world. I was afraid of my own shadow. And so year one was learning how to rise above my fear and terror of the outside world and feeling safe again. I've born and raised in the Boston area, went to, undergrad and grad school. I never thought that would happen. And yet it did.
Yeah.
Just like nobody thought 9/11 was going to happen, or Oklahoma City, or what happened in Robb Elementary School and Sandy Hook, and I can go on and on and on. Guys, we owe it to ourselves to stop hurting each other.
Right.
So anyways, the forgiveness part. Year two, I had such rage. Now, I will share a quick story, which is not in the film, but it's really powerful. And it got me to see that a terrorist lived inside of me, actually. I indicated I'm born and raised in the Boston area. We drive crazy. So if you ever driven in Boston, we drive crazy. We cut people off. It's what we do. We don't think anything of it. This one particular day, I was leaving a support group meeting in Boston in one of the local hospitals, and somebody cut me off. And I instantly went to road rage, something I had never done before. And I went and chased the car that cut me off. And I know it wasn't intentional. It just happened. And for the next, 30, 60 seconds, I lost myself. I was screaming, cursing, beeping the horn, trying to get this person to stop. Fortunately, they made the light, and the light had turned red, and I stopped. And then I started to cry. Who is this person? This is not who I want to be. And that's when I realized that a terrorist lived inside of me, and I had to heal her. Now, here's the thing. I had silently been thinking about what would I do if I ever came in front of them? How would I kill them with my bare hands? I had such hate for those two young men. And I thought that if their lives were taken, the world would be a safer place. But I was wrong. I was wrong. And I realized that had I acted on my rage in that moment, I was no different than those two young men. Fortunately, the light changed and I stopped before I did something, God knows what I would have done. So there was a moment of grace and a moment of awareness of like, whoa, I've got some work to do. So fast forward, I was divinely called to read Ivanla Yansen's book, 21 Days to Forgiveness. And I opened that book and I'm like, I can't do this. I shut it down. And the book kept drawing me in. And I could get more upset. I'm like, how can I forgive something that has literally shattered my world? And the world as I knew it was gone. My successful career was gone. My successful business was gone. My relationships with some of my family and friends were gone. How do I forgive that? But the rage that kept coming up inside of me terrified me and scared me. And I just reluctantly, in the beginning, delve in. And it took several months for me to have enough courage to get to the point where I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to forgive. And that's what I did. I made a choice to forgive, not knowing truthfully what was going to be on the other side of that. It really was an experience. And as I indicated in the film, once I made the choice to forgive and I spoke it out loud in court, my whole world changed. The rage that I struggled with started to dissolve. My healing rose exponentially just by forgiving. It literally set me free. But it did something else that I never thought could happen. Was when I said those words and I meant them, compassion came in for the very, very first time. So the hatred I had toward those two young men turned into compassion and love. And then it got me curious, like, who does this? What happened to them? And here's what I learned. Those two young men, they were 19 and 25, if I remember correctly at the time. They grew up in a war-torn country where bombs were laid in their city and in their backyard. I didn't grow up like that. I can't imagine what that's like. Those two young men were acting out of their trauma, acting out their rage because nobody helped them. And so this is why I created the film, why we are on this journey, because the more that we can start to forgive one another and we can start to focus on loving and embracing one another, even though we do stupid things. I do stupid things. We're human. But when we can extend grace to each other, when we can extend compassion to each other, when we can actually look each other in the eye and say, I love you, I forgive you, the world changes. And I personally believe that the more of us that can lean into that, despite our differences, despite our different opinions, which by the way makes us unique, the more that we can do that, I do believe we can rise up to a point where we don't have to do war anymore.
Yes. Yes. Go, Noelle. Yes.
I just want to jump in here, Jennifer. I just have to take a breath after all that. Excuse me.
Beautiful.
It's just, I just feel that transformation that you went through, and when you have the compassion. Dr. Marty, who's part of the World Unity Week, she always says, hurt people hurt people. And you're a healing people, and you're healing people. But I'm wondering, do you have any contact with any of the families or victims, other survivors? Have they had the benefit of learning from you and from your path towards healing?
Yes. So the answer is yes. When all of this took place, I became one of many people that are part of a global organization called Strength to Strength. And it's bringing people who have gone through terrorism around the world together to unite, to help each other and to support each other and to, heal and rise up from this journey together. So the answer is yes, there are people on this journey. And there are also some people that have yet get to the place that I've gotten to. And it is a journey, folks, right? It takes some time, and people have to do this on their own time, candidly. But the answer is yes.
I'd also like to say that I love how you so many different modalities, and it's like a smorgasbord that you went through. But something's going to resonate with some people, and other things are going to resonate with other people. That's why I feel it was really great that you brought in the channeling. Although the first time I saw this film, I was going like, what? But, I think that's wonderful you did that.
And it was part of my journey. And here's what you have to know. You have to understand that prior to the bombings taking place, my background is in finance and economics. I don't have a health degree. I don't have a medical degree. My idea of holistic wellness prior to the bombings was nutrition and chiropractor. I thought acupuncture was woo-woo, right? So the fact that I didn't even talk about it in the film, but I did, I worked with shamans. I worked with, I've just done some extraordinary things, but I never would have gone down that path if I hadn't been through the experience that I had. I was desperate. I was desperate for a better way. I was desperate to set myself free from that indelible prison sentence that I found myself in. And I was, for the first time, I think in my life, this lifetime, was so open, and I just surrendered to show me the way. And things fell into my path. And even when they fell in, I was like, you want me to do what? And actually, I did not want to do the marathon in 2017, but I had been praying, and I had been sitting in meditation for months going, what's it going to take for me to come full circle? And the answer was to run a marathon. I was a spectator the day of the marathon. I have never run a marathon prior to that. And I go, you want me to do what? You want me to run a marathon? I'm like, my idea of running was behind a white ball, a soccer ball, a softball, a volleyball, like short, small things.
Yeah.
And when I got the message, I could barely lift a 5-pound dumbbell, and I couldn't even walk a half a mile without completely being exhausted. And I was, obviously when this came through, and I resisted it, and I was like, I'm not ready for that. And it kept saying, no, you need to do this. And this was in October 2016. And I said, okay, fine, I'll do it in 2018. And I heard, no, you're going to do it in 2017. And I knew, being an athlete, that a marathon, if you've never done a marathon, it usually takes you a year to be ready for that. And so, but God and the universe wanted me to do that 5.5 months later. And here's the other thing is, when I went to the bookstore and bought every book I could get on how to train for a marathon, I came home, I opened it up, that's not going to work. Next, I open the next book. Shit, that's not going to work. None of the books worked. And now I'm crying. I'm sitting on my sofa crying. You want me to do what? And I don't even know where to begin. Then one of my survivor friends, Jean Campbell, contacted me and said, why don't you go reach out to Jack Foltz? Jack Foltz won the marathon in the early 70s. And he now was training other marathon runners. I'm like, does he know I'm not a runner? And she's like, I think he'll work with you. That man, grace him, he created a weekly plan. And he knew I couldn't run at that stage. He knew I couldn't get on, I just couldn't. So my training in the beginning was a little bit of biking on a stationary bike, a little bit of stuff on the treadmill, but I mean, we're talking little. And then he would measure, he would see my progression. And then I would have to submit this every day. And then the next week he'd create a new plan. He created a custom roadmap for 5.5 months, just so I could finish and cross that finish line. I want to share one other thing because it's really important. I had a lot of doubt. I wanted this to happen more than anything. I wanted to come full circle. And I knew the only way to do that was to cross that finish line. And I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if my body was able to do it at that stage. And a week before the marathon, now they tell you when you are tapering down, so the intent is you've got to get to 20 miles. They say if you can get to 20 miles in your training, you statistically have a better chance of finishing the race. But you want to do the 20 miler like a month or a little bit prior to that before the race. 1 week out, I hadn't gotten to the 20 miler yet. And I knew I had to do that. So I called out my soul sister, Carolyn, who graciously, ran with me that day, or jogged with me more like, said, let's go do it. So we went out, and it took a little over 10 hours to go 20 miles. And I was in excruciating pain when we finished. And I thought to myself, how on earth am I going to finish 26.2 a week from now? Then a day or two later, I get this phone call inviting me to a woman's speaking summit where Allison Levine was speaking. Allison Levine was the first female to lead a team of women to summit Mount Everest. Now, the woman that called me to invite me to hear her speak didn't know I have an obsession with Mount Everest. I've been fascinated with Mount Everest since I was a little girl. And I got an opportunity to meet Allison. And Allison was such an inspiration at such a pivotal moment, because she shared that the first attempt, they had to turn around. And the criticism that she got, and all of the flack that she got for not being able to summit. And it reminded me of how I felt the first time I attempted the marathon and I could only get 9 miles. And I said, what made you go back? And she said, it took a few years, but I just knew I had to go back to finish what I started. Mm-hmm. And then she said, I also had to look at summiting differently. And in that moment, something shifted for me. So when I went back home, I knew how to visualize. I knew how to do all that stuff. And I was meditating and visualizing 26.2 miles, but I could never see myself getting there. But her insight and her wisdom that day got me to pivot. And all of a sudden, I had this awareness of, go see how many towns you have to run through. So I went and I looked at a map, and I realized that there's only 8 towns. So for the next week, I stopped focusing on 26.2 miles. And all I focused on was I have 8 towns. It didn't matter how many miles were in each town. The beauty is the first town is only like a mile out. So I was like, yes, 1 down, 7 to go. And that's all I did. Do you know? I finished the marathon. So I told you, it took me over 10 hours to do 20 miles about a week before. That day, just by shifting my focus to 8 towns, and we stopped, and let's be clear, this was not a steady thing. Like, we stopped along the way. I actually got acupuncture treatment at mile 7. My acupuncturist came out and gave me treatment. We finished in 8 hours and 45 minutes.
Fantastic.
But what's the point? Sometimes life, we get really focused on one aspect. But when we can pause, take a step back, and shift our perspective, I told you, all I wanted to do was finish. I never in my wildest dreams could have conceived that I could go 26, by the way, it's not 26.2 miles. There's a mile leading up to the start line. So it's like 27.2 miles. But it only took 8 hours and 45 minutes because I shifted my focus.
Wow, that's a lesson. Another lesson.
Yeah.
Bob, did you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Jennifer, the movie and all the other activities you have planned and the trilogy and all is a opportunity for so many people to take that which they need to hear, what they need to see, and use that, whatever those bits and pieces are, all of it. Do you do any personal coaching, individual work with individuals and life coaching or motivational speaking? What other opportunities do people have to learn from your experience?
Thank you for the question, Bob. So I used to do a lot of one-on-one coaching before this. Right now, my focus, so I do inspirational, motivational speaking. I also like to do group-oriented work. So there are several things that we are really actively underway now. So we are literally editing the second film, which a lot of the footage came from the first film. So the second film is called There Is More to Life. And it's a deeper dive into how we can tap into, our true essence and really cultivate a life of our dreams if we choose. And so there's that. Right now, we've been getting a lot of requests for people wanting to have deeper interaction and deeper conversation around the first film. So we're actually going to launch a movie club. So think of the idea of a book club. We're actually going to start to launch a movie club. So that you'll learn about that if you go to the Rise and Thrive Tribe. Going the opposite way, this way. This is the community where you can just join now. We're just literally building this out. And for now, you can be inspired and go on this journey with us. We have some free resources there. We're building it out, but we're going to create a movie club where we're going to go deeper into the what if statements of the film and help people, tap back into there. And then we're going to do some more group work. And then the third film, we're actually working on creating a research healing study. We want to get more scientific data because so many people, and listen, I used to be this way. People are like, you went on this journey to learn how to heal naturally. And I can sit here before you today and I learned how to heal 100% naturally. I didn't take pain medication. I didn't do any of the stuff that the traditional medicine wanted me to do. I found alternative ways to heal that. And people have said to me, if that stuff really worked, why isn't it mainstream? And I've asked myself that very question. And so now we really want to go out and spread the word and share in our communication and bring other healers and bring other modalities in so people can experience for themselves. So the third film is going to have a research study component where we pull in complete strangers who are struggling with post-traumatic stress, veterans with post-traumatic stress, and people that have been dealing with sexual trauma, but have a desire. They have to have a desire to want to rise up from those experiences. And as somebody who has risen up from PTSD myself, I know it's possible. And then we're going to bring in healers, and we're going to bring in, sound therapists, and we're going to take them through this study, and we're going to quantify and qualify the data, and we're going to film that and incorporate that into the third film. And the working title of the third film is called Can't Make This Shit Up. Because we can't. Like, there's just like, and that's it. And then, and again, to get people to think beyond their limiting mind of, folks, we do have cures for all the diseases out there today. We're led to believe that we don't, but the truth is we do.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for shining light on that. So I want to thank you for choosing to be a ripple of love and bliss and creating bliss formation. I wrote it down.
I love it.
I created a whole bliss vocabulary during the pandemic. It's like, and we'll post it. But here's the thing, if you choose to join the community, which is free to join, the very first thing we ask you to do is to do a love bomb. So can I actually do a love bomb with you, yes, Kathy?
Yes, but we need to, this will be the last thing, we're out of time. So.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So we'll make it quick. So here's how the love bomb works, is you express to somebody authentically what you love and appreciate about them. Ideally, you do this randomly via text message, phone call, or a note. But what I'm going to say to you is, Kathy, what I love and appreciate about you is that you shine light on so many things in the world, and you have been like the wind beneath my wings to help me bring this film and the message out into the world. And you've stood by my side for the last 7 months. And I'm so grateful for our friendship and for who you are. And thank you for being such an amazing woman.
Wow. Thank you. I feel good now. Thank you.
That's the intent. The more we can spread love bombs, the more that we can rise above and experience peace and bliss in the world.
Well, Jennifer, I hope that everyone, and I'm love bombing you anyway, because that's just what I do to you. I don't have a name for it, but your example is going to help so many people. Just like me, you and I both came out of a corporate environment where we were type A's and, trying to change the world through the corporation. And we both have made this journey to finding a much more loving, peaceful, blissful way to co-create with people in the world. And I am so grateful to know you. I want to be like you when I grow up.
You already are. And Bob and Noelle, thank you. Thank you. We just met, and I'm so excited to be on this journey with you as well.
Yes.
It's our joy.
Family here. Yep.
Thank you so much. It's been a blissful evening. Thank you, Jennifer. And we will be co-creating the future, I'm quite sure. Thank you, Kathy Mason, for the introduction. Thank you, everyone who watched. This has just been such a gift, and it's going to keep rippling out, I'm quite sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what you do next.
Yes.
Can't make this shit up.